All righty, here we are, another Friday Live, and we know, like with Facebook and social media, we got to do all of this stuff, right? So they're like,
Hello, hello.
what are these wacky people doing? So, Adrian, why don't you introduce
Happy
your
Aloha Friday, everybody.
Happy Aloha Friday, and we're gonna be saying it in advance. But what's on your shirt again, Adrian?
Let me just stand up. Mele Kalikimaka.
Mele Kalikimaka, good pronunciation.
That was
And
perfect.
Thank
what we
you.
always like to do, in case we don't see our relatives on New Year's, or maybe we don't want to see them because they get all drunk and out of control. We say Mele Kalikimaka and Haole Makahiki Ho. That's a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. You just get it all done one time. Who is our guest and what we'll be talking about today, Adrian?
So we have, actually, he is a repeat guest, Kyle Shimoda. He's a wealth advisor and a DST expert. And we're going to be chatting with him a little bit about what is a DST and an upcoming webinar that we're going to be hosting. I think next week is December 16th, Thursday. Yep.
In fact, people can go to the website, teamlale.com. If you go under resources, it says DST right here. And you just click on the register button and you'll get a Zoom notification or link sent to you so that you guys can check it out again for that Zoom presentation. And we do that, I think it's every other month. If you want to know what the dates are, just go to teamlale.com. All right, so
I would say that the other thing is that if you do have a personal question, you cannot make that day and time, that Kyle he's put his calendar on that link. So you can just schedule a quick conversation with Kyle and his team about, is this a good fit?
Yeah. All right. So Kyle, real quick, where are you from and how did you get into this business?
Ooh, okay. So I'll give you the shortest version. So I'm from Kauai, grew up on the island of Kauai. Originally was born on Oahu though. And I got into this business. I went originally into business, marketing and finance, and I took some time off to go to culinary school. So I love to cook. Yet I realized that in order to live in Hawaii, I'd have to get into an industry where I really could make an impact in people's lives and make good, decent income. So focus on wealth management and financial planning. So I've been in business for almost 17 years now.
Awesome. And Adrian, did you have what question you want to hit Kyle with right off the bat?
So how did you come across this DST and what exactly is it?
Yeah, what's a DST?
So DST stands for a Delaware Statutory Trust. And how I got into it was I had a client several years ago that they were both in the medical field. One is a doctor, one is a nurse. And this couple was renting and they really wanted to buy property and they would have loved to have purchased the property they're in, yet their landlord didn't really want to sell. So when I asked, well, what do you think the reason is that your landlord doesn't want to sell? Because it sounds like your landlord lives on the mainland, you guys rent from him here. And they said, well, when we talked to him in the past, he bought it a long time ago. He has a ton of capital gains. And if he sells it, he's going to pay a ton of taxes. So he's really just keeping it because he wants to avoid paying taxes. And he's taking our rent and making decent money. And at the same time, I had talked to a good friend of mine that I knew from Kauai, Troy Wada. He's the principal of InPac Wealth Solutions, the boutique wealth advisory firm I'm with. And he had mentioned that he had a financial tool that allowed people to sell their investment property, do a 1031 exchange, defer their capital gains, potentially improve their income, and then not even have to manage property anymore. And, I heard that little tag and I had this client and I said, I think you need to talk to my friend Troy. And at the time, we were working at different brokers. So he was running InPac Wealth Solutions. I was with a different company. Yeah, I said, I think Troy has access to a tool that I don't. I think the two of you need to discuss this together. Anyways, he ended up helping out my client. Talked to the landlord. Landlord sold the property. I'm still in contact with that landlord. He's becoming a client of mine. Avoided the capital gains tax, improved his income, right? Doesn't have to manage property, and then my clients got to purchase that property. So it was a win-win all the way around. And short story from that, I ended up going to talking with Troy and said, you
Yeah.
know what, I think I need to work with you to learn more about this financial tool so I can help more of my clients.
How long have you been working with DSTs?
I've been doing it since 2018, so just a little over 3 years now. Yeah,
3 years
that's
now.
become
And
focus.
statistically, yeah, statistically, what are your guys' stats as a company for DSTs regarding the Hawaii market?
Right now, I heard as of today, we account for about 75% of all
Wow.
Wow.
DST volume in Hawaii, state of Hawaii.
So you guys are
Now,
like
you guys can
over,
also help people that are outside of the state of Hawaii, correct?
yeah, anywhere in the United States, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Our licenses allow us to get licensed in various states. So typically, what happens is we either have clients that we meet in Hawaii and they move away, so then we get licensed in that state, or
Yeah.
we have people that refer us to some of their relatives or friends in another state, and then we assist them there as well.
Yeah, you helped our friend of ours who's a former attorney, or she's getting ready to retire, sell her office building in, what was it, California?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
That was
so
a win-win because
that
I
was a
know
win-win.
that, yeah, her and her husband were kind of battling it out where he didn't want that responsibility, but she wanted to still have that
The
income.
income.
And we're
Yeah.
like, oh, we can save this this argument. You guys don't need to argue anymore.
So
You just
we
gotta call
literally,
Kyle.
you saved their marriage.
Yes.
I don't know.
I
He's a
think
divorce
we
attorney.
yeah.
She is, yeah.
He's a divorce attorney. You never get a divorce from a divorce attorney. You're stuck with them for life.
And I tell you, yeah, she's very
Saved
happy.
your
They're both
marriage.
very happy.
Yeah.
They're both very happy. Every time we they call, we talk about how they're enjoying retirement. So
Okay.
yeah, thank you for that referral.
Yeah. So the way that you get into two other things. So again, you're like the Orville Redenbacher. You just do. Orville Redenbacher always said, "Do one thing and do it well." And we know Orville Redenbacher for what?
Popcorn.
Popcorn. That's it. We don't know him for rental cars. We don't know him for orange juice. It's popcorn. So when we think of Kyle Shimoda, we think of
DSTs.
DSTs. Do one thing and do it well.
Building your wealth.
Building wealth.
Building. Wealth building.
That's the vehicle. That's the vehicle. So let's talk about a 1031 because that's how you get into it. What is a 1031?
Yeah. So IRS code 1031 allows someone that owns investment property to sell and then replace it with a like-kind property, so another investment property. So like-kind meaning it has to also be for investment purposes. So not a private residence. It could be your condo that you rent. It could be a piece of land that you're holding for investment. It could be your single-family home. And when you sell the property, typically you'd have to pay capital gains tax. Now, if you go ahead and replace it immediately with another investment property that's like kind, and it could be another condo or single family home, it could also be commercial real estate. It could be a warehouse. It could be student housing. You could go from one property to five, or you can take 5 properties and then just buy one, as long as you're replacing it with more investment property within a certain time frame. And that time frame is very strict. You have 45 days to identify what you intend to replace. And then you have 180 days total, not extra, total, to close on one or all those properties that you've identified. And whether that 45 and 180 days lands on a holiday, like I actually have a client right now, her 45th day lands on Christmas, the IRS does not care. That is the deadline. You have to identify and close on those deadlines.
So, so Kyle, with these strict deadlines to avoid the penalties and get the tax benefits, identifying a DST as one of those properties in this kind of market, are you seeing a lot of people using the DST to make sure that they're following the timelines and the rules?
I don't see it enough yet. I would highly recommend anyone that's doing a 1031 exchange that you always list the DST as one of the options, just in case your other options don't pan out.
Now, talk about the benefits. Let's go versus. It's kind of like Muhammad Ali versus Joe Frazier. The Thriller in Manila. So let's talk about DST versus other like-kind properties for the 1031 exchange. What are the pros and cons?
Well, so in general, I think most people that when you think of investment property, usually you think of, okay, yes, I own a condo, I own a single family home, maybe I own a warehouse or I inherited one of those things, and I have one renter. Maybe I'm the property manager or I'm paying a property manager to handle it. I have to deal with potentially finding tenants. Maybe I have to kick tenants out and replace them. Every once in a while, I get a call to replace a refrigerator or replace a roof. And so there's some headaches that come with managing and owning physical property, right? We call those the terrible T's, the tenants, toilets, trash. In Hawaii, unfortunately, we've seen some torching. We've seen and even have had clients where the tenants burnt the house down. So torching is another T. TROs is another T that we've added to the list. So those are some of the drawbacks of owning physical property. And then in addition, in the places like Hawaii where real estate values have appreciated so much, yet the rental the rental amounts have not increased as high. The net income or net cap rate has dramatically decreased, right? So when you think of it as, well, this is how much my property's worth, this is how much rent I can ask, that's my gross income. Then after I take out maybe a mortgage, maintenance fees, taxes, insurance, replacement costs, and then some vacancies, the net income or net cap rate as a percentage of what your property is worth can be in the ballpark of 1 to 2% on average in Hawaii. In some cases even negative.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
Kyle, you mentioned in the beginning with your story about the landlord with the tax hits. Now I know, so you own the property for a certain amount of time and you lose some of those tax benefits, like the depreciation. Maybe talk a little bit to that side of things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's one way to, like me, for example. It's so funny. Every year, I'm on the financial planning side, and I have a lot of relationships with tax advisors. So every year I meet with my tax advisor. My wife and I are sitting down with him, and we're kind of going through our properties, our investments, and he's kind of going line by line. And on one of the properties, we were negative cash flow. I think like 5 to 10,000, right? And he said, wait, so you could see the look on my wife and I's face, like, oh, okay, we're negative, which is fine because we know it's appreciating. He said, wait, that's not the full story. We're depreciating the property, so you're actually ahead by about 10,000, right? Because we're able to depreciate it down. The net effect on our overall taxes is that it helped us on our income, right? Our income
To offset some of that income. Yep.
Yeah. And so what happens is if you own residential or investment property, you have a 27.5 year depreciation schedule. So for people that have owned property for a really, really long time, especially in Hawaii, basically those tax benefits reduce and go down to zero. And then what that also means is that your cost basis as a function of the depreciation goes down to almost nothing, right? So
Now,
then when you go to sell, that means a lot
yeah,
of taxes.
Kyle, could you, because a lot of people have a tax person, right? And I'm sure you say the same thing that Adrian and I say, that we are not providing tax advice. That's for the tax professionals. But you're okay meeting with their tax professional and explaining your vehicle and how to the CPAs or the tax person that they work with, right?
100%. In fact,
Yeah.
if someone decides that they want to move forward with the Delaware Statutory Trust, as part of the application, we need a third-party attestation,
Okay.
and that can be a CPA. So we would, I would love to talk with them up front to help them be a part of the conversation and understand
Yeah.
that's, to see if it's the right fit for the individual.
Adrian, question?
So with all of these benefits, we've heard this before, it seems too good to be true. So to those people that are skeptical, what kind of comebacks do you have on that too good to be true?
Well, let's I guess I want to put it in perspective on what actually makes it really in the areas where it is sometimes too good to be true. Number one, deferring the capital gains tax is huge. Number two, not having to manage a property because it's managed by a DST sponsor, which is a large real estate corporation. The one I work with most, they've been in business for over 50 years, never had any failed exchanges. They've never had a capital call. They've always made money for their investors. And so they do all the management. So now takes the individual or the property manager out of the picture, not have to worry about those terrible T's. So there's those two. In addition, we all know one of the reasons why we have property is so that we can then leave it to our beneficiaries, our children or grandchildren, so they will inherit or they will get a step up in cost basis, potentially avoiding all capital gains tax, right? And then, another benefit, which I won't get into today, yet definitely come to our webinar next week, is the fact that for people that have debt or mortgage on their property, some DSTs are built with debt on it as well. So it has loan to value. And by investing in a DST, the investor gets a non-recourse loan, potentially taking that debt off of their balance sheet, off of their.
So Kyle, could you explain this non-recourse loan? I mean, that also sounds almost too good to be true. You have a loan on your credit that affects your debt to income ratio, and then you're doing a 1031 exchange and removing that debt, but still within that, following the guidelines for the 1031.
Okay. So okay, do your best to stay with me. It's gonna be best coming to our webinar. So I'll give you an example. Let's say you own $1 million property and there's a $500,000 mortgage on it. Okay, we're just gonna keep numbers really simple. So half of it is debt, half of it is equity. We're at a 50% loan to value. Okay, you sell your property for $1 million. Okay, you're only gonna net 500,000 of cash. Yet for IRS purposes, to satisfy the 1031 exchange rules, you have to replace equal or greater value. So you have to find a replacement property worth $1 million or more. What that means is, traditionally, if you're going to replace it with another condo or single family home, you're going to have to find another, you're going to have to get another mortgage. You're going to have to apply and acquire another mortgage. Okay. Now, the Delaware Statutory Trust, this was formulated back in 2004. You can actually look up IRC 2004-86 if you want to look at the entire IRS ruling on it. So these DST sponsors, what they do is they'll go and they'll buy, for example, a large commercial institutional property like an Amazon warehouse, a Verizon, a ESPN, Zurich. Those are all examples of properties that are actually inside of DSTs, where the landlords are people like you and I, right? And the DST sponsor will purposefully, after they purchase a property cash, will go back to the bank and put debt on the property. So they'll go and they'll take a mortgage on the property because they know that many investors, when they're selling their investment property, are coming in with some debt. So they need a way to assist the investors with replacing that. Yet because, and if you read the IRS ruling on it, the IRS says there can only be one lien holder on that debt, and that's going to be the DST sponsor, the real estate company. So even though they're going to pass the benefits onto the investor, the only person on that mortgage is a DST sponsor.
So I love that. I love that strategy.
And to translate that, to break that down for our viewers, if you have an $800,000 home, you got an $800,000 mortgage, and you can't make that mortgage payment, you get foreclosed on, and that busts up your credit. You have $800,000 in debt into this program. It's a non-recourse loan, so if something happens, well, it doesn't tap your credit is the main thing.
Yes, the cool thing, because I personally use this strategy because my credit was not doing so well after my divorce. I was able to still satisfy the 1031 exchange requirements and get the debt for the DST, and it didn't matter what my credit looked like. I was just, I was amazed that there was a solution, and Kyle and his team provided me with a solution to avoid $40,000 in capital gains taxes, and I still get the benefit of having an
Yeah,
investment.
so
Yeah.
the number is 40,000 in capital gains. You invest about 100,000, you get about $500 per month, and then you'll figure out what the growth is many years down the road and go on to the next one. Speaking of amazing things, we're out of time and it's all over, folks. So if you want to get more information, you can go to teamlalleydst.com. Again, Adrian, when is our next one? I think I have it right here.
Next Thursday, I think, is the date, and they can register.
December 16th.
December 16th at 1 p.m.
Yeah. Kyle, was there any questions we didn't ask? Anything you want to wrap up with?
No, that was great. There's many things we covered, many things we did not. So definitely please join us on that live webinar next week.
They always say, leave them wanting more. Leave them wanting more. So we're going to say,
come join us next week.
Going to join us next week. So we're going to take us out, and this will be another awesome Friday. I call it fried rice Friday Live. Fried rice Friday Live, because what we do is we take what we know during the week, our entree, we chop them up, we mix them with rice, shoyu, and eggs, and then we reserve it for breakfast on the Friday. So that's what we call it, fried rice Friday Live. Here we go.